Everyone is speaking out about this for the Dallas Cowboys, and the entire league has been put on notice. The Cowboys have underachieved. They didn't do anything to address some of their issues that had plagued them. And Jerry Jones, he's been making an ass out of himself every single time he's been opening his mouth. So I'll break that down and much more on this episode of Cowboys Digest. Welcome in, everybody, to Cowboys Digest. I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, and bear with me because my voice is not where it needs to be right now. A little bit under the weather, but I wanted to bring you guys this video right here because it's interesting. And anytime there's Jerry talk, we're going to be all over it because this guy doesn't have a shortage of things to say. But before we get into the video, I want to let you know that a large percentage of you watching the channel are not subscribed. So go ahead, hit that sub button. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps me out a ton. But yeah, 85% of you who watch these videos aren't subscribed to the channel. So got to get that number down somehow. Hit that sub button. You won't regret it. But let's get straight into it right here. A 3-3 start has the Dallas Cowboys in a tough situation ahead of the November 5th NFL trade deadline. With a couple more wins over the next 2 weeks, the Cowboys could become buyers, adding more talent to an already strong roster. I don't agree that it's a strong roster, but I digress. Moving on here. Yet another loss or two could send Dallas into a spiral that makes them trade deadline sellers. So it's true. The Cowboys right now are in sort of a middle ground where they don't really know where they're going to end up. Are they going to be sellers? Is it smart to be buyers at the deadline? I don't know. I really don't know which direction they should go in. But if that game against Detroit was a measuring stick at all for you fans out there, then the answer is simple. Sell, sell, sell. Try to get assets as opposed to giving up assets in order to address the team. I think the best course of action this year for the Cowboys is to try to acquire draft capital as opposed to trying to give away draft capital and filling in holes with temporary solutions. I just don't think that is the way, and that is not what Jerry has been saying out in the media either. He said he likes his team. He's not going to make any trades. Who knows with this man? It's very confusing. And this is just to give you kind of a preview of what we got going for us on Sunday night against the Niners. Everyone is picking San Francisco to win that contest, and I don't blame them. Even without a lot of their guys, without Brandon Ayuk, without Christian McCaffrey, without maybe George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, they're going to be shorthanded. They're not going to have all of their guys at their disposal, but still, they have a good defense. They've owned the Cowboys in years past. I don't expect this to go well for Dallas unless they get Micah Parsons back and they start to show some flashes of being a team that is going to hustle and be a bunch of dogs out there on the field. We haven't seen that all season long, so I don't know if it's necessarily going to show up at Levi's Stadium against the Niners on Sunday Night Football on the biggest stage. But I hope I'm wrong. I'll never cheer for the Cowboys to lose, whether they're in contention for the first overall pick or whether they're in contention for first place. I will never cheer for them to lose. That I can guarantee you. But I am a realistic Cowboy fan, and I will tell you that I'm not too optimistic about that, about the results of that game heading into Sunday. I just can't see a world in which they beat the Niners at home. But hey, I've been wrong before. I've been wrong many times. There's a reason why I'm doing this and not managing a front office somewhere. So hey, if I'm wrong, I'll gladly eat it and I will wear it to the face. No doubt about that. This makes Sunday's game against the Niners a pivotal matchup against a similarly desperate 3-4 San Francisco team. But if we know the Cowboys like we think we do, a loss could even make them more aggressive ahead of the deadline, making sure this team doesn't fall short of the postseason. Now, I don't agree with either, because if they were going to get more aggressive, it would have happened already, because they've gotten blown out 3 times at home here. 2 times at home, and one of them was a blowout until they actually decided to step up and play. So if they did want to make some changes and be aggressive, I feel like they would have been made right now. We've already seen a slew of trades around the National Football League. We've seen DeAndre Hopkins get traded just this morning. We saw Devontae Adams get traded to the New York Jets just a couple of days ago. So look, there's been some moves, and teams that are in desperate situations have been making these moves. I wouldn't say the Chiefs are in a desperate situation, but they're dealing with a lot of injuries, and instead of sacrificing their undefeated record, they are getting ahead of the problem, and they are addressing the issues that are plaguing their roster right now, because they are not a perfect football team. They aren't. And then you look at the New York Jets. That's a desperation move. That was a team that was 2-4 that needed some help. I don't know if that was necessarily the help that they needed, but Aaron Rodgers wanted it, and he got Devontae Adams. And then they lost on Sunday Night Football against a Monday Night Football. Sorry. No, it was Sunday Night Football. I'm really cloudy right now. I'm really under the weather, so again, I apologize. But yeah, they get Devontae Adams on a trade, and then they lose the game right after. So they're 2-5 right now. That looks like a bit of an idiot move. Them hitting the panic button, dealing a third-round pick for a guy who's making almost $30 million. That doesn't seem very smart to me by Joe Douglas and the New York Jets front office. And I don't know if the Cowboys are in position right now to be one piece away. I don't think they're one piece away if they go out and acquire a wide receiver or a running back or anybody for that matter. There are a lot of notable holes on this roster that need to be filled through the draft, through free agency, and I just don't think there's a quick snap of the finger solution for this Cowboys squad. I want them to make the playoffs. I really do. But I don't know if it is realistic with this current core of players that they have and with all the injuries that they're dealing with too. This feels like more of a long-term plan that they got going on here. And now I'm not going to pat Jerry on the back because he's been lying to us all along. He said that they're all in. He's trying to gaslight the fan base, and I hate that. I've seen right through it the entire time. This team is not good enough to win a Super Bowl. You could argue that it wasn't good enough last year, but they had 12 wins in the regular season, and they were undefeated at home. So they were well positioned to make an NFC Championship game last year, and then all hands are on deck. Nothing is off the table there. So they had an opportunity. They fell flat on their faces. They decided, okay, we're going to keep Dak, we're going to keep CeeDee, and then everything else is just going to be fillers, and we're not going to do much to address the holes that are obviously plaguing this roster right now. So Jerry has been gaslighting the fan base. I'm not going to give him a pat on the back, but there is a clear plan in place here, and he's just not divulging it to the fan base. They are not going to make moves this year. They are not going to make moves to address the current roster. Maybe they'll make moves to address the roster down the line and add some draft picks to address some of the holes on this roster maybe in the next 2 or 3 years. But as for this season, I just don't think it's realistic for the Cowboys to make any sort of move like that. And despite the optics of the Cowboys' losses this season, they are still in play for the division and should start getting back key injured players soon. Micah Parsons, Brandon Cooks, Deron Bland all appear to be on the cusp of returning, with DeMarcus Lawrence and Marshawn Nealon expected to return later. Even with those reinforcements, the Cowboys have significant holes on the roster, which is what I've been saying, namely at the running back and defensive tackle spots. If the Cowboys actually are all in and have hopes for a late season surge into the playoffs, they'll need to address what they can on the trade market. And that's the thing. I don't think they're all in. I don't. And I saw right through it because there were no moves made in the offseason. And Jerry has been lying to us, saying that they are all in, and they're clearly not here. So I don't know, like, what was a move that they could have made? Maybe Alvin Kamara, but that ship has sailed because he just signed a 2-year extension with the New Orleans Saints. So I understand the pressing needs here that the Cowboys have, at least for this season. But I don't think it's smart to deal away draft capital for a guy like Alvin Kamara, for example, who is not going to make that big of a difference on your roster. He'll help. He'll definitely be better than what Rico Dowdle has given you. But apart from that, is he going to make your defense better? No. Is he going to make your offensive line better? Also, no. He needs those things to be successful. And the Cowboys have a big area of weakness in that department as well. So, I don't know. There are some options that the Cowboys can go look at for this season that are sort of cheaper options, and I touched on them. Khalil Herbert was one of them, right? That the running back from the Chicago Bears kind of got lost in the shuffle there. But there are some names to look out for that could help the Cowboys and give them some relief. But then you're dealing away picks for 1-year contracts for guys that are not necessarily a part of your long-term solution. So they are in a tough spot right now. They really are. And there's no clear direction that they are headed in. And that, to me, is a big worry sign. Are they going to beat the San Francisco 49ers? I don't know. Maybe. They have a chance because the Niners are banged up. If the Niners were fully healthy, I'd say hell no. Hell no. But they're not. And they're dealing with a ton of injuries right now, as are the Cowboys. But still, like, if you were ever going to beat the Niners in the past 5 years, this is probably your best chance to do it. So if they win, yeah, I'll be impressed. I'll be happy. But I need to see a long, sustained run of games here where they show consistency in order for me to buy back into this team. I've seen too many lopsided defeats, and I've seen too many close victories from them this year in order to definitively say that they can compete for a title this year. They are so far away from a Super Bowl that not many moves can really save them right now. But let me know in the comments down below. Do you think the Cowboys should be aggressive as buyers, or should they be selling? Should they be trying to acquire draft picks ahead of this offseason? Let me know in the comments down below. But again, make sure to hit that sub button because we're close to my goal of 2,000 subscribers, and it'd mean the world if you could get me there before Sunday Night Football, the monumental clash between two arch rivals. Should be a lot of fun, but I'll see you tomorrow, and go Cowboys.